let's do this full circle. So this is the finished piece, and then we'll talk about how to draw the Joker. Okay, you beauties, I'm back. Well, it has been a very long minute and my art has progressed exponentially. So I think it's time that we teach each other art. Pops, drawing, stuff. Time for some art. Let's draw the Joker. I've been working a lot recently with spray paints and we're trying to spray paint the background first. It's a good way for me to think, so I spray paint the background first, and then what I do is use those colours and think of a character who's associated to that. Then after my spray paint dries, what I do is I then think of a character which suits that. In this particular instance, today's one is the Joker. So I ask you, what colours suit the Joker? Clearly greens and purples and reds for his big smile. So I'd used those colours as the spray paint background and I was like, yes, it can be no one else but the Joker. Next up, okay, the sketch. We need to find a reference image of the Joker, so you want to pick an image which everyone can immediately associate the Joker with. Sometimes you pick a bad image and then it can screw up your whole piece. So you want to find something, normally it's probably one of the first couple in your search engine when you type in the Joker and it comes up. You'll find then an image which everyone immediately associated. I went for Joaquin Phoenix? Yeah, you know the guy. So the latest Joker, went for him because his role, he played such a good part in that film. Absolutely amazing, great acting, everything was super. So I chose him, he's very distinct in that role. Got that image and then made a sketch. So let's go to the sketch. Right up. So, the background done, sketch done. Now is the interesting bit which most people don't know how to do, but when you see it, it's so simple. We use carbon paper. We get our sketch, which we've done. We then put the carbon paper on the back of the sketch. We set it on top of our background, which is now dry. And then we go over heavy in pencil. So you're basically tracing your sketch, but make sure, do your best to do your sketch by yourself, and then it's okay to trace at that point. But you don't just literally want to trace the image. So I don't want to print out an image of Joker and trace that image, because it's not cheating, but it's not really your art. So we want to try to encourage you to do your art. So initially, if you draw the sketch and your sketch is in front of you, it's 100% okay to trace. So from there, we trace the image onto the canvas. This, my friend, where the fun bit starts. So if you haven't leaned heavily enough onto the canvas, now don't lean and push your pencil through, but if you haven't leaned heavy enough, you won't see a good enough imprint and then it can get quite tricky. But if you've done it all right, you will see the imprint. You can see it loosely on this image. When you have that, this is where you bring up the color. This is what I would say is the best part of the drawing. Actually, that's a lie. This is the second best part of the drawing. You basically go over it in your pens, you build up the color, you pick, for me anyway, I tend to go sort of darkest first, so I block in the blacks, and I then will just lay a base color down. So I knew in the Joker it was gonna be greens and whites. His face is heavily white, so brought in the greens, brought in the whites, and then the darker color really brings out the shading. And from there then, yeah, so I stand corrected. This is my favorite part. This is the fine liner, I call it. So the way I do my drawings is after I've got down my base coat as such, so when all the colors are there, it looks pretty flat and pretty dead, but what I do now is I get my fine liner and just go. Now I have a very scratchy style. You'll hear about the term scratchy going around the art community. It's actually where you sort of like scratchy with your pencil, so it's never gonna look as realistic as if you smooth something off, because if you look at your skin texture is smooth. So if I was to do like scratchy shading on that, it's gonna be a bit more abstract, but in a way that's the way I like my art, so that's the way I produced this image. So this is very scratchy now, but this is the most fun part about it. You're bringing in the scratchy image and it basically takes the Joker page, absolutely lifts it and brings it to life. It's this point you do the finishing touches. So that, my friends, is the Joker. It was really, really good to do. Obviously the Joker's catchphrase is, "Why so serious?
Why so serious?"
So that had to go on the bottom. So here we have it, the Joker. Absolutely love it. It's one of my favorites actually to date. Had the "Why so serious" at the bottom. That's A2 size, so that's pretty hefty. Turned out class. As I said, started with a background, then built up the sketch, then put the sketch on the drawn 3 carbon paper, then built up the lowlights and the base like coats, so base colors, and then as you see the scratchy style. So I'll bring that in. You can see the scratchy style of the image, so just around the details. And that's a wrap, guys. Now is the fun part that all YouTubers say, so like, subscribe, do whatever you do, hit the comments. Yes, you know it. I have to say it because otherwise you don't do it. Have a good one, people.